What's going on, gamers? I am DBMgamer, and Bungie dropped the bomb on Crucible weapon changes today. So let's jump to the shoutouts. Now I want to give a shout out to Todd Allard, Evil Wolverine, Wayne Harris, Bryce Locke, and Apex Warrior Gaming for also following me on Twitter. So now let's go over the changes, because there are a lot of them. Now revive timers are going to go up in an addition of 2 seconds. So it makes 7 seconds total. They're 5 seconds now. They're fixing to go up to 7 seconds. So case in point, on your first revive in Trials, you'll have 7 seconds between your kill. On your second revive, you will have to wait 14 seconds to get that revive. To make matters worse, revives are going to be slower, making the quick res gear more important. That's not enough changes? Well, how about this? The distance to the revive is also going to be shorter, and revive overshields are going to be slightly weaker. A good change though is that when you spawn into any game type, you will now have special ammo. Now this includes any of the 3v3 playlist, but special ammo spawn crates will now be slightly nerfed. They're going to increase the amount of time that they drop on the map. Now, heavy ammo, this is another big change, only comes in at 5 minutes, and that's it. They're not going to come in different intervals. You're going to get one shot at 5 minutes, or if you're playing in elimination mode, it'll come in on the 3rd round. Now one positive change is going to be Shaq's weekly quest. It'll now drop up to 335 gear. So there's another route for you getting that 335 gear. You can actually get it through Crucible through this method. And to sweeten the pot, the Trials of Osiris bounties will also award up to 330 gear. And one slight tweak will also be that the Mercury chest, should you go undefeated in Trials, will also drop you some 335 gear, including armor. If you're like me and you like Iron Banner, once you reach rank 5, the 310 ghost that you've been getting all this time, well, now it's going to be 320 standard across all game modes. Alright, so let's talk about the weapon changes. One that's near and dear to my heart, assault rifles. The high rate of fire ones are going to get a slight damage nerf. That's right, if you've been running around with a doctrine of passing bullet hose and killing everybody, well, it's going to be a little bit tougher now. Now to offset that, if you're using a low rate of fire assault rifle, which those are honestly, let's just be honest, crap, they are going to get a slight buff, and that's really good. Moving along to the pulse rifles, a low rate of fire pulse rifle will get a slight damage buff. That's right, now you have a chance of actually two-bursting somebody if you land all of the shots. Hand cannons? Oh yeah, they're getting more reserve ammo. That's the good news for us on the PvE side. Fusion rifles? Blanket stability increase. That's really interesting. Now I don't know if that's actually going to affect the Mythoclast. It shouldn't, but man, if it does, holy cow. Alright, so let's move along to snipers. Everybody hates snipers. They hate getting killed by them from a distance, but they love doing it to others. Well, the 3 lowest zoom distance sniper scopes are going to have more zoom, so it's going to kind of alter your ability to see from left to right on those. Furthermore, scoping in, you're going to have 2 more frames of zoom time, and the snapshot perk is going to be 10% less effective. Now I see this as an opportunity where someone who did use snapshot could actually switch to something like, say, quick draw. Now quick draw is very effective if you've not tried that. Now moving right along, one of the hidden perks on the Mida multi-tool was that it had high caliber rounds built into it. Well, now that's going to be removed, making it slightly easier for someone who's being shot by a Mida to return fire or just to retreat. The Suros regime, everybody would seem to be using the spinning up perk. Well, they're nerfing that. Now spinning up will kick in 4 rounds later in the magazine due to the low rate of fire assault rifle buff. But the interesting thing is the flip of that. You will actually get more range with focus fire, because focus fire was honestly crap. But now it's possible to max out the range with focus fire on the Suros, so that's going to be something I want to try myself. Hawkmoon will get a base range increase, and this will make it more reliable to land shots at mid-range. This is kind of something that I had hit back on a long time ago when they were talking about tweaking the hand cannons. And I said that Hawkmoon should really fill the role, kind of the long-range, mid-range hand cannon. It seems like that's what they're going with now. And on that same point, I had said that the last word is pretty much your close-range hand cannon. Well, that's what's going to happen here. The last word will have reduced damage bonuses from the last word perk, since it was just simply too good firing from the hip up close. Not to mention, it will also be subject to a fair amount of range drop off at the mid-range. But the nastiest of hand cannons still has to be Thorn. Well, Thorn is also getting some nerfs too. They're going to reduce the damage over time. It'll now only do 2 points of damage instead of 3, and they'll also reduce the duration of the damage over time effect. It'll only do 4 pulses instead of 6. Okay, icebreaker. Now something that a lot of people were doing were generating ammo, dying, and then switching over to a different gun. Well, that's a glitch that's going to be fixed now. And that same glitch also applies to the sidearms. Now that won't happen either, so when you die, you won't carry over ammo when you're switching weapons. Now, two exotics that seem like they'll be pretty interesting will be Dreg's Promise and the Telesto. The Telesto because now it will correctly attach to all surfaces. That means the bolts that you fire can actually stick to your teammates. So I picture a situation of you shooting your teammate and having him run around a corner and basically suicide bombing the opponent. And the Dreg's Promise, which they had on screen, looked really impressive, I have to admit it. It had tracking rounds, so this might actually replace the last word as your go-to exotic. But one change that may take a little bit of getting used to is going to be the fact that all special and all heavy reserve ammo is going to be reduced. So with the reduction of the amount of heavies spawning into a round and the amount of ammo that you get off of that crate, yeah, heavy's not going to be nowhere near the factor that it's been in the past. Now let's talk about the class changes, specifically the Warlocks, and that's what was pointed out that that's what they were going to talk about. Sunslinger's Flame Shield armor will be reduced, as well as the frequency of it will be reduced. Radiant's Fireborn won't last as long, but the big shock was the Firebolt Viking Funeral not touched. The Stormcrawler will have its landfall changed, and it will no longer blind, and it'll also have less super duration if you're using the Transcendence perk with it. But to offset that, there will be a slight damage increase to the Electrostatic Mine perk, so you might be able to just swap one for the other. Now the cool thing was the Voidwalker. Pretty much just a buff. They're going to, anything that's got the energy drain ability going on with it is going to get a small buff. So Voidwalkers are going to go from Space Wizards to Space Vampire Wizards, it seems. And to add to that, to the news for today, new Trials of Osiris armor also appeared. Now it's going to have a kind of a golden teal look to the natural state of the armor. Now sadly, like a lot of you, I had hoped for them to talk about custom matches. That's just not going to happen this go around. There was also no mention of SRL coming back. But the biggest outrage had to be over that Firebolt. Now I've watched a lot of members of the Destiny community go back and forth over how it should be changed, maybe reduce the number of damage over time pulses. Now going on what was mumbled during the stream, some of the Sunslinger perks, like the Voidwalker, will actually get those buffs though. How that's going to change or affect gameplay, we just don't know yet. Now personally, I think a top build is probably going to be a Titan Striker running like say a high impact, high stability pulse rifle and maybe Dreg's Promise. Now scouts like the Mata will still be really good too. Now with the heavy changes, Truth should still remain the top heavy, though until we see the full patch notes, I just can't recommend a heavy machine gun just yet. Well guys, I am out of here. If you like this type of content, just hit that like button or leave a comment, or if you just want to see some more, hit that subscribe button. But as always guys, have a good one.